An item of business off the top here, Council. Before the last weekend, we were contacted by a reporter from WTAE regarding Facebook comments on our municipal Facebook page, and that some comments were deleted once they were placed onto Facebook. Mr. Ratcher, there was a conflicting story of if you can do it, if you can't do it, should you do it? You know, why would you do it? Why wouldn't you do it? So if you could maybe speak to that for a moment.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Well, what's happened is that, of course, Facebook has become a medium for communication across the country, I guess across the world, really. And it's something that's new to all of us, so the ability to communicate that way is something that hasn't been regulated, and the question is whether or not any regulations apply to it. The American Civil Liberties Union has taken the position that a Facebook page of a governmental entity, a public entity, that if you have such a, there's really two examples of that. One is you have a Facebook page where nobody can comment, and you simply put up, you know, informational stuff. They're going to be paving a street down here, or there's going to be a tree lighting ceremony over there. The other kind is you put up that same kind of news, but yet you allow comments. And the position of the ACLU has been, and there has been litigation in the courts, that has said essentially that that is a public forum. And if it's a public forum, you're not allowed to take one comment down as against another comment, because that's that is not a content neutral regulation, and you're essentially censoring public comment. There has not been a definitive court case yet in the Supreme Court that has said one way or the other whether that is the case, although that's the way it seems to be moving. The ACLU in many states has sued what they've seemed to pick on in particular have been the governor's offices that have Facebook pages. And they've come up with some rulings, some lower court rulings that say, no, you can't do that. You can't censor comments because it's a public forum. At this time in Monroeville, Pennsylvania, Allegheny County, it's my opinion that it is not illegal to do that. Although I do think the trend is that eventually a case will make it to the Supreme Court. And my feeling is that because the First Amendment is held so dear to all of us, they will find that when you have a Facebook page, it's a public forum. So the question then becomes for the municipality and any public entity with one of these Facebook pages, whether or not to allow comments. And I think the safe rule would be that if you allow comments, you have to allow everybody's comments. Now, the exception I would make to that is if somebody posts a profane comment or a comment that is really pretty offensive, way over the line in any way, I don't think anybody would argue that that might be a comment that should not be allowed to continue on Facebook. But the other way, and probably the safe way to do it, is just to say, okay, we're going to have a page that is informational in nature, and we're not going to take any comments one way or the other. If you do that, then that doesn't become a public forum, and you don't have the allegation that, hey, you're censoring comments that you don't like.
Right.
So that's, I think, the question that the municipality has to answer as a policy standpoint as to which way you want to go with that. And my advice would be that if you allow comments, allow everybody's comments, except those that are, you know, clearly offensive or out of bounds. And that would not include comments that just say, you know, you people on council are a bunch of idiots. I mean, our free speech in this country allows people to say that. And so you either do it that way, or you just say, we're not going to have any comments. If you want to make comments about what goes on in the government, these meetings are your opportunity to do that. And of course, we do have laws that protect people's right to come up here and say whatever is on their mind. So that I think is the policy question for council to answer.
Okay. I mean, all that being said, Council, I mean, with what Mr. Ratcher just explained, I mean, I think Facebook is certainly a good outlet to get information out to residents. A couple of the concerns I have as far as to continue to allow comments is that we really don't have the staffing to monitor comments, and probably one of The biggest issues I have is that if misinformation gets put out about what's going on, we certainly want to use this forum to get as much information out as possible, but if the comments become misleading and people, maybe they think that that's what's going on versus what's really going on, that's one of the concerns that I would have, is the staffing issue with that. As Mr. Ratcher said, we do have these public forums. Also, every council person up here has has an email address, has a cell phone number or a phone number that's public. We have our website certainly that has all the information on it. And we certainly have a presence here as far as telephone and office staff to take any kind of questions or concerns. And also to, Facebook comments that would not, that doesn't distinguish if a person's a resident or not. So we would, there's a residency issue as far as commenting to the municipality. But this is a policy that's up for council, so I'm curious what everybody thinks up here.
Well, I never
Well-
even thought about the not being a resident, being able to see that on Facebook. That's a really good.
There's a lot of
Before-
non-residents that
Yes,
comment.
that would
on Facebook.
comment. That's something I never even thought of.
Well,
I think
before,
that's really
before
good.
council comments, just from a technological standpoint, if council decides to go where there's no comment, you will not be able to, well, there's two avenues you can go into. Right now, we have a public page. All right, and you have a public page, and I am not a Facebook expert by any stretch of the imagination with respect to the technology. But if you have a public page, anybody can Google Monroeville and they can go onto and see the comments. If you wanted to restrict it to be a one-way communication, you could go in two avenues. One would be you have to have a personal page. Now, if you have a personal page, then that means that if you want to see what's going on in Monroeville, you have to have a Facebook page. All right, so it isn't a public page. Or the other avenue that you can go into is you can restrict common words like the, and, to, and things of that nature, which would tell the person who's trying to seek the information that they are blocked. All right, that seems to be the way that would go. So if you wanted to have it one conduit of a way, then it would have to, most likely would have to be a personal page. Now, if you decide to let comments go as we are right now, my understanding is, Mr. Ratcher, we can delete those comments, which is the comments that started on it with a resident, where he basically said his comment was deleted. But we can delete, if I understand it, if council decides to keep in that direction in the way we are right now, we can delete comments because it's our Facebook page, is my understanding. And even though we do not have a policy per se, we do have a disclaimer on the Facebook page, as Mr. Ratcher mentioned, about profanity and things of that nature, and you can read that on the Facebook page. So I just wanted to mention that before council started a discussion on
Could I ask a question, just curious? With all the technology that's out there, you have a web page, you have all these gadgets, and so how important is the Facebook page? That's
Well,
important.
very good question.
I mean, for us, not personally, I mean as a municipality, how important is it?
A very good question. Facebook, more people, my understanding, a vast majority of people get their information on the social media more so on Facebook than they do on a website by far. Now, even the younger, and you can define younger generation, 35 and under, 25 and under, however you want, it's Instagram and Snapchat.
Right.
So even Facebook is kind of passé with the younger generation, but by far, we get more information out on a Facebook page than we do on our website.
Well, I just have a comment, and I'm going to back the mayor up. You know what? Let's just shut down the comments. Our residents can come up here and talk to us with their comments.
I agree with that.
I don't want anything, I don't care what anybody on the outside of Monroeville has to say about us. They don't live here, they don't pay taxes here. For our residents, let them have it up here with us. If you just want to get information out, and I assume that's what it's all about, getting information out, let's just keep it at that and end it.
I think that's a good idea. Put it out there and just don't listen to any of the guff coming back the other way.
Yeah,
Mayor.
let them come up, that's all.
My problem with letting comments on Facebook is that people don't differentiate what the truth is. And so I don't have any problem with people having their own opinions and things like that, but putting it on our Facebook page, people believe what they see posted there. Well, that's not what was said on Facebook, you know? And seriously, and it doesn't have anything to do with the truth. Now, I would be in favor of shutting down the ability to make comments.
I
on it.
agree 100%.
So,
And yeah, that as well, and just to give you an example of, and Tim really spoke to it about managing the problem. The organization I work for, it has almost 10 to 12 people that do nothing but manage the
Sit there
piece
and
of
read
that.
the comment.
We don't have the money.
And again, to manage that piece of the puzzle, it's a substantial thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, but we really don't have much more than the standard disclaimer policy, too.
Correct.
Yeah, and
No,
that's, yeah, and
that is correct.
that's where we'll get into trouble,
I mean,
frankly,
yeah.
between them.
Yeah, you have to differentiate. We have the disclaimer policy. The one, everybody knows about profanity, illegal activity, vulgar language, abusive, discriminatory. And you can start to get into splitting hairs. For instance,
Yes.
embarrassing comments. Well, what is an embarrassing comment for one person
Yeah, it's-
may not be an embarrassing comment for another person.
It's not the
So
comments.
Yeah.
that's where you
Do we
get
have
into.
to vote on this, Nick?
well, I think at this point, we just want to get
policy, isn't it?
I think we want to get a feeling from what council feels.
Why don't we
No
just
comment.
vote on it?
No
I have an
comment.
opinion. If you got a problem with me, call me.
There we go.
Yes.
And if you have a problem with me, call Mr. Duncan.
Well, my motion is to,
Absolutely. I'm serious. You could put whatever
You
you want
wanna-
on this Facebook crap. I tell my daughters to stay off of it, and I'm not part of
How
it.
about I make a motion that we end the comments on the Facebook page and leave it just as informational? Obviously, our Monroeville residents can come up and talk to us anytime.
I'll second
So we have a
that.
motion and a second.
And I
to-
agree 100%.
To enact that policy.
Yes.
Let's do a roll call, please, Sharon.
Whatever.
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Arciniak?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
What is it for?
This is an affirmative would be to say that we're not going to allow comments.
Call you on the phone.
No, we're not
Yeah,
gonna-
call me.
But we're not going
Okay,
to allow
aye.
comments on the Facebook page. We will just have, it'll be an informational page.
Mr.
Aye.
Wilson? Okay.
Okay, the ayes have it. Very good. And
End
lo-
discussion.
and long-term, as Mr. Little even touched on, as far as social media, long-term, and even what Mr. Poach was saying, this might be something that we need to explore
Yeah,
long-term as far as someone that does social media for the municipality or
Yeah.
make that part of someone's job.
Yeah, absolutely.